There is a lot of fantastic content out there about the benefits of getting started early with good money moves. A lot of times, this content is about getting started investing in your 20s. But for me, in my 20s, I wasn't so focused on buying stocks. When I was in my 20s, I definitely understood that debt was bad and investing was good. However, my focus was on getting my education, setting myself up to be independent, and also increasing my income. Of course, I definitely had some fun along the way. I was a waitress at a couple different restaurants, and I was also a cocktail server at some different bars. That, along with a fake ID that I had when I was 19, I definitely had some fun in my 20s. Of course, now that I am out of that decade, I am very wise and all-knowing, and I thought I would share my wisdom with you. I came up with a list of 10 things that I would tell my 20-something self about money. If you wish that you could go back in time and tell your 20-something self something about money, then go ahead and like this video because we are on the same page. First and foremost, what I wish that I could tell my 20-something self is that you can definitely start investing while paying off debt, including that nasty student loan. I accrued a lot of debt in my 20s, and I also had the #1 focus of paying off that debt in that decade. I was so laser focused on paying that debt off that I didn't think that I could start investing. But what I wish I would have done was set aside even just a little bit of money each payday so that I could invest maybe every couple months. Time in market is so important, and understanding that now, I wish my 20-something self would have considered putting a little bit aside even while I was paying off my debt. Number 2, whether we like to admit it or not, in our 20s, we definitely care what our friends think about us. The advice that I would tell my 20-something self is to really suck it up and not worry about what people might think if I say, I can't do that right now, it doesn't fit my budget. I can't afford that right now. Or just, no, I don't wanna spend money on that right now. I always thought I had to come up with excuses of why I didn't wanna do things, but really, there's no shame in just being honest. Also, a lot of people actually share the same desire to put money aside and not spend frivolously. So if I were to just be honest and say, no, I don't wanna spend money on that right now, they probably would have been inspired to do the same for their financial well-being. I always thought that saying no to plans or purchases with my friends was an indication that I didn't have the money, that I was broke, and that's not necessarily the case. I wish I would have known that. Really, it's just about prioritizing your spending so that you can spend money on things that you want. I really didn't have a full grasp of this concept when I was in my 20s, so I definitely went along with spending money because I just didn't want to tell my friends no. And that is a great segue into number 3, which is really to understand when you're spending money for yourself or simply to impress others. I can definitely think of a few times where I picked up the tab for myself and all of my friends to go out for drinks or dinner, and it wasn't necessarily something that I had planned on doing going into that event. It was just something I wanted to do to show that I could, and that's not a good enough reason to spend money. There was also that Prada purse that I bought, but I think I was about 16, and it was my first time having my own money because I had just started working. But I did that enough times in my 20s to kind of count it. Even today, it's good to reflect and see, do I want this purchase as a status symbol, or do I want it because I really want that item? And this is a habit I wish I also would have practiced in my 20s. Number 4 is also super important and something that I still struggle with today. I wish that I could tell my 20-something self to pay more attention at the difference between being cheap and being frugal. There are some things that you should just not cut corners on when it comes to spending your money. On a real serious note, health insurance is one thing that I don't think I would want to be cheap on, because when it comes time to use that health insurance, you're gonna be happy that you have it. But on the more practical side, I spent a lot of money on shoes that I just thought were cute, and they were definitely not practical. And I was one of those girls wearing the adorable heels, but then carrying them over my shoulder and walking barefoot to the taxi at the end of the night. That's one thing where if you spend a little bit more money, you can get the cute, comfy heels, and they don't kill your feet as much. And they also last longer. You're not helping, Tinsley. I didn't know you in my 20s. No, I didn't. I know you now though. This is why it takes me so long to film a video. Hey, yeah. I swear, she's obsessed with being in the videos. She just wants to be a star. Number 5, I wish I could tell my 20-something self that you do not have to wait to start investing until you think you know what you're doing. Knowing what you're investing in and educating yourself is hugely important. Don't get me wrong. But I always put off investing because I thought I had to be an expert on how to value a company and time the market just perfectly. I wish that I knew about dollar cost averaging so I knew when to invest. And I also wish that I knew about index funds so I knew what to buy. Those two concepts are game changers. And if I would have known about them in my 20s, well, my net worth would be a little bit higher today. They really take a lot of the pressure off investing when it comes to how do I know when is the right time to buy a company? How do I know which company to put my money in? These were things that paralyzed me as a potential investor. And if I knew about these concepts back in my 20s, I could have started investing a lot sooner. Number 6 is that although a 6-figure salary sounds amazing and the dream of what you want to achieve outside of college, it does not make up for working 80 hours a week, hating your boss and the people that you work with, or even hating what you're doing or having ethical issues with the job that you're hired to do. And we've all heard the quote that do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Yes, we all get that, but we also really like money, and so that concept really doesn't land with us. When I was in my 20s, I worked at a few jobs that I definitely hated. I mean, I think we all do, and that's kind of paying our dues and helps us to realize what's important to us for our career. This is just one of those things that I probably had to learn the hard way. So I don't know if myself now telling my 20-something self this then would have really made any difference. But having a good work-life balance, doing something that you enjoy, maybe even something that you're passionate about, and working on it with people that you respect and enjoy spending your time with makes a ton of difference. It is not all just about the money that you make. Of course, you're also not volunteering, so the money is important, but you get what I'm saying. It shouldn't be your only goal to achieve a certain salary level. You should consider those other things as well. Number 7, being able to communicate about money in relationships is hugely important. It does not matter if it's a romantic relationship, a family relationship, or even a close friendship. You should be able to discuss certain aspects of finances. There are different types of people and different types of beliefs when it comes to money, and you cannot assume that people are on the same page as you. I would want to tell my 20-something self to really understand what my financial beliefs are, be able to articulate that to the person I'm talking to, and be open to the fact that their views might be different. And when I say being open to other viewpoints, I mean truly being open to it, because people have completely different beliefs when it comes to spending and saving, and these beliefs come out in different ways and in different interactions. Some people are truly offended if you pick up the bill because they feel like maybe you think that they don't have the money to pay for themselves or pick up the tab. And here I am just thinking that I'm doing a nice thing by picking up the bill for lunch. I would have no idea that they would feel that way. By the way, I'm not one of those people. You can pick up the tab for my food anytime. I like steak. Number 8, do not loan money to friends and family. If you want to help someone out financially, consider it a gift, and it will save you a lot of heartache. I would tell my 20-something self that if you cannot afford to lose that money, then you shouldn't be lending it to them in the first place. Simple as that. Number 9, the boring investments are often the best uses of your money. In my 20s, and again, I don't think I'm gonna be alone in this, I do think that I cared about what other people thought about what I said and did. I was really susceptible to what other people were doing and herd mentality, which is probably why I purchased some of that stupid stuff that I did. I want to scream at my 20-something self to start putting money aside in index funds, because although they were boring and nobody else was investing in them, nobody was getting rich overnight, if I would have done that then in this decade, my money would have been worth a lot more. Last but not least, number 10, and my advice to my 20-something self is that you are not invincible and emergencies will happen. So set money aside for it. Cars break down, there's gaps in unemployment, different bills come due that you weren't prepared for, and I wish that I had a better sense of this so that I could have money set aside. I knew that some of these emergencies happened to other people, but I didn't necessarily think that they would happen to me. And boy, did they. So I relied on credit cards a lot of times, and then it took me longer than I expected to get out of that credit card debt. So I would tell my 20-something self not to spend every penny of my hard-earned cash on going out or buying new clothes. I would recommend putting some of it aside. Hindsight is 20/20, right? What do you wish that you could tell your 20-something self about money? Comment down below because I want to know what I've missed. I'm sure you guys have some great ideas. Thanks for watching, and thank you in advance for subscribing, because I know that if you're not subscribed now, you're gonna go ahead and click the subscribe button down below because this video was brilliant. That way you can see more champagne sense videos on making more money and keeping that money. Thanks for watching.